Hi guys, this is God Disciple from Full Metal Heroes on the EU PS3 server, and today I'm going to be showing you a quick video around the basics of being a controller in PvE. What I'm going to show you in this video is what power you should be selecting, what skill points you should be selecting, what weapons I would recommend would be good for controlling, and also tips around regenerating your power, which will help you keep your team powered. So I'll get straight into it and start with the basic powers which you should be selecting as a controller. As a controller, your main role is to give power out to a team, and your secondary role is to control your enemy, so grounding, stunning, and really stopping the enemy from doing what they got to do. So the first power that I would have in my loadout is the power over time move. This is commonly abbreviated to POT. So if you see somebody shouting out in the watchtower or the Hall of Doom, asking what somebody's pot is, they're not talking about drugs, they're talking about power over time for controlling. Now what power over time will do is it will restore power to your group members over time. Now this will give 6 ticks of power out to your group. So what I'll do is I'll cast the power now. There you go, so you can see I've just got 1 tick of power over time there. You can also see that power over time is shown as being active as a green lightning bolt under your name. So as I said before, this will give you 6 ticks of power, and when the power over time has stopped being active, the green lightning bolt will not appear under your name anymore, which will show that you need to recast your power over time. And there you go, you can see it's gone. A little tip for that is don't cast power over time during your power ticks, so don't do it on like the 3rd tick. I would recommend doing it on the 6th tick, because you'll get an extra tick of power and you'll know when you are able to go back into doing all your other powers, whilst power over time is happily going away and giving power to the full group. The second power that I have in the loadout is the power dump move. Now it kind of works the same as power over time, but you will only give power out when you cast this move, and it will also only give power to 3 group members. It will restore power to the 3 most fatigued group members. So if you've got people in your group which have got no power and you've got people in the group which have got full power, it's only going to give it to the people who have got the lowest amount of power in your group. That's a common misconception with being a controller. People who haven't been the role before think that you can just give power out to anyone in the group whenever you want, but it's only ever going to be the 3 most fatigued group members. I'm just going to skip this move and go on to this one. This is my power supercharge. Now depending on what actual power you are, so mental, quantum, gadgets, mental, quantum and hard light each have their own group shielding power, which also gives out power as well as the supercharge, and it will give power over time to your whole group. That power will keep ticking away on your group members' heads until the actual power has finished going through its cycle. If you're if your gadget's like me, gadgets doesn't have this group shielding supercharge, so what you can do to accommodate that is in your movement mode you will have either speed drain if you are a speedster, or you'll have I forgot the name of it, but there's one in flight as well. It'll come back to me later, but there's one in flight as well which you can pick. Oh, word of power. You can pick word of power, and these will both work on the same sort of mechanics as the group shielding will do. So it's very, very important to have that in your loadout for times when you've got no power yourself and your whole group is struggling for power. You see people's health dropping. That's a good little pick-me-up when everyone is struggling. Not only that, it's only a 50% supercharge, so you can build that back pretty quickly. The next power in my loadout, I'll go back to the 3rd one in my slot. This is the defense debuff. The defense debuff will lower the defenses of your enemies that you're targeting, and it will make that enemy that you are targeting more prone to bigger damage. Now the defense debuff is signified by a red shield under their name. So at the moment you can see a sparring target's got nothing under his name. As soon as I hit the defense debuff, red shield. So he'll be getting bigger crits now, bigger damage, and you'll be the DPS's best friend. The next power on the loadout is another debuff. It is the damage out debuff. So this will work on the same sort of basis as the defense debuff will. Instead, it will lower the damage output. You can also see when this is active when you cast it on an enemy. You can see now under the sparring target he has the red crosshair, so that will show that the damage that he is putting out has been decreased because of that debuff. The final move on the loadout is a bit controversial for some people, but I usually roll with this one in my loadout, and it's the healing out debuff. Again, same as the defense, same as the damage, except that this time it will lower the healing output of the person that you are targeting. Again, you can see when this is active, when you cast it, they will have a red heart under the name, which will mean that their healing out has been decreased. The reason I said that that power is quite controversial is because in the majority of raids and alerts you don't need to cast it, but I have it in my loadout just to do a bit of extra damage. The only real raids I can think off the top of my head that you would need that for would be the medics in FOSS 3 and also one of the sub bosses in Paradox. It's good to have it on for there, but not everybody likes to roll with it, so if you don't want to, I'd recommend just putting a single shield on there to help you with picking up your allies when they go down, or put an aggro dump on there like Grandeur or Distract, and that will make you immune from aggro for a few seconds. So that's the powers I selected. I will now go into the skill points. So obviously in your weapons you can pick obviously what moves you want to have as that weapon, but you also get the extra little bonuses at the bottom. Now as a controller, like I said before, your main role is to provide power out to the group. So what you want to be speccing into as a priority is vitalization. Vitalization increases power generation effects. And don't quote me for this, but this is what I've heard, but 10 points of vitalization will increase your base power generation by 1%. Now if you remember when I did the power over time move, I was getting ticks of 197. If you've, as much as your vitalization will increase, your power over time ticks will as well. So if you've got the higher vitalization you've got, the higher power over time that you'll have. So I always spec into that as a priority. I get all the ones which cost 3 skill points, and I get all the ones that cost 6 skill points as well. Now in my opinion, controlling your enemies, so stunning them and grounding them, is a secondary role as a controller. A lot of people say it's just as important, but in my opinion you're there to give power out to the group. But to aid you in being able to control your enemies, you want to spec into dominance. Now dominance will affect the control effects of the enemies, also affects the healing and shielding. So like I said with the healing debuff, if you want to put a shield on, the higher dominance you have, the longer the shield and more beneficial it will be. I only spec into the 3 skill points dominance. I don't bother going into the 6 ones, because when you with your armor and your gear, and when you spec into the 3 skill points, you'll have enough dominance for every raid, alert, duo, whatever you want to do. So don't worry about specking into the 6 one, just go into the 3 one. After that you can use your extra skill points, if you've got any left, to spec into whatever you want. I'm a bit of a lead scoreboard watcher, so I always want to try and have as much damage as possible and as much power out as possible. So with my extra skill points I spec into all the damage ones, like your critical attack, your critical damage, then I'll go the rest into might, and anything left over after going through all of those, just put it on something random, put it on health. What I will say though is, before you do go into using your extra skill points on like your damage and that, make sure you spec into cunning as well. because cunning will permanently increase your statistics. Sorry, like it'll boost the critical power chance by 1% and stealth by 1 point per one that you select. So always go into cunning before you go into damage, because it's definitely going to be beneficial for you as a controller. So what I'll talk about now is the weapon choice that you should go for with being a controller. Now, as I've banged on about all the way through this video, is that you've got to get power out to your group. So if you're just sitting there just banging out your power dump and your power over time, you're going to run out of power and it's not going to last forever. So what you've got to do is try and regen as much power as possible, and the way you do this is by using your weapons. Now, as a controller, you don't want to be up in the face of your enemies, so you don't want to be choosing like a melee weapon, because otherwise you're going to get squished stood next to the tank. So always pick a ranged weapon, so something like a rifle, pistols, hand blasters, martial arts, bow, that sort of thing. I always go with the hand blasters. It's my favourite weapon, mainly because with controlling, with getting as much power out as possible and getting as much power regen, the tap hold of range for hand blasters gets you a lot of power regen pretty quick. So you can see I'm getting quite a lot of quick damage off the enemy, so that I'm getting as much power back as possible. That kind of goes into the next bit, which is the tip for power regen. Now, I can't remember if it just showed it there, but when you're attacking an enemy, it comes up with the hit counter. It's not doing it now. It's typical. No, it doesn't want to do it. Let's try and see if I can get rid of more power. See if I can do it. Come on. There we go. Right, you can see that it's coming up with white numbers. It's gone into blue numbers, and then goes into orange gold numbers. Now, not many people know this, but the reason why it goes into a colour is because it shows how much power you are getting back from your weapon. So what you want to be doing is getting into a higher number as possible and going into that different band of colour, so you can get more power back from your weapons. So what I would recommend is, if everyone's struggling for power, then obviously you've got to be quick with it. You've got to be getting a little bit of power regen, banging the power out to make sure everyone's going. At times when everyone's got like a full power bar, it's then when you can start really focusing on regenerating your power. So everyone's got a full power bar. I'm going to be getting as many hits as I possibly can on the enemy to get as high into the hit counter as possible and get as much power back to fill it up. And then if everyone's then starts struggling again, go back into quick hits, power dumps, so that everyone is keeping their power up at a steady rate, and at times of need you've got a full power bar to spank out to your team. And that basically is the main parts of being a controller in PvE. Your main role is to give power out to the team. The second little bonus that you have with it is that you can stun enemies with your moves. So focus mainly on your vitalization. When you're modding your gear, focus mainly on getting like the blue and yellow mods. Go for like vitalization and dominance. For your red mods, go for vitalization and precision, and for your yellow mods, just go pure vet, and then you'll be getting quite a high vitalization. It'll increase your power over time, it'll increase the amount that you can generate of power, and your whole team is going to be happy. Like I said, this is only a very basic guide, so if you've got players watching who's been playing the game for 2 years, some of this might not be anything new to you. But it's mainly out there for the new guys on the game. So I hope it's been beneficial for you. Sorry it's lasted another 15 minutes, but I hope I'd like to have a little chat. If you've got any feedback or any comments, please let me know below, and that includes things like other commentaries, other videos. Just let me know what you want to do, guys. But thanks very much for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys